What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I have an update for you when it comes to redistricting. We're going to take a look at some of the states that have already moved forward with redistricting and also these states that are talking about redistricting right now. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. And I'm going to have this AI model that I'm going to show you. And this AI model will predict how many seats the Democrats or Republicans will win in this whole redistricting fight. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so let's go ahead. The first thing I like to do when we start these videos is I want to give you guys a kind of a reference point. Where are we coming from? So when we're looking at the current congressional map, okay, now remember when we're talking about redistricting, we're talking about the House of Representatives. We're not talking about the Senate because the Senate will not be impacted by redistricting. However, the House will, because you have all of these different districts, and what states are doing is they're redrawing lines. And President Trump started this by asking Texas to draw some new lines. And by drawing those new lines, the hope is that Republicans will be able to maintain the House. And if you really want to know how Republicans think they're doing, they would not be talking about redrawing lines if they thought they were doing well. They wouldn't be talking about all this redistricting because you wouldn't need to. If the economy was doing well, if everything was going as planned for Republicans, there'd be no talk of this. But they're talking about this because they know the economy's not doing well, inflation's still rising, and people are just not happy. And so you see Republican leadership in these different states trying to take every different opportunity to gain seats. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay, let's go ahead and go back. So I want to show you, now the current count right now, Republicans have 220 seats, Democrats have 215, and so right now Republicans have the majority as a result of that. Okay, so what do Democrats need? They need to net 3 seats. Democrats need 218 seats to control the House. That's what they need. And so that's our starting point. Okay, so this is the AI redistricting model, okay? And what we have here is we have some states that have already started drawing new lines, and then we have some states that are just talking about it right now. And some, they might be actually implementing things, but they haven't moved forward. You have some court orders for different states to draw new lines, okay? We'll talk about that. And so the first states that I want to take a look at are the states that already have things in motion, okay? So we have Texas. Texas got this all started, right? President Trump said, hey, draw some new lines in Texas. That's what they did. So we have right now the probability that this will be on the ballot in 2026, and that's what we're talking about here. The probability is 0.90. So you can think of it as 90%. There's a 90% chance that this will be on the ballot in 2026, these newly drawn lines. And this will favor Republicans +4, okay? Now, what they've done is AI is calculated this, and we get plus 3.6. And so based on 90%, that's the amount of seats that Republicans will be able to gain in Texas. Okay, let's look at Missouri. So with Missouri, you have new map, lawsuits pending. So because you have lawsuits pending in most of these situations where they've drawn new lines, you can't say it's 100% because you have lawsuits in action. Okay, so because of those lawsuits, that could postpone the redistricting, and they might not be able to do it before the 2026 midterms. And so that could be a situation there, or the court can strike it down and they won't be able to draw new lines. So right now with Missouri, it's about a 70% chance of happening. You have +1 for Republicans, and when they do the calculation, it's plus 0.7. Okay, looking at California, we know Prop 50, that's right around the corner. So we'll see if that passes. If Prop 50 passes, that means that this number here, this 50%, because right now it's 50-50, that will go up. That percentage will go up. Okay, so right here you have -3 Republicans. So basically what it's saying is Democrats are favored in this state. So -3, and you do the calculation with that 50%, and then you have -1.5. Okay, let's take a look at Louisiana. And you have the Voter Rights Act. This is the Supreme Court just heard this case, so we'll have to see how the Supreme Court rules on this. Now, when it comes to this case, we are expecting the Supreme Court to come down with a ruling either June or July of 2026. They could do it before, but most likely they're going to wait until the end of their session before they rule on this. And so what that could mean is it's going to be a real crunch time. Let's say the Voter Rights Act, they come out and they say, okay, we're striking this down, or we're striking portions of this down, and it gives these different states an opportunity to draw new lines. they're not going to have that much time to draw those new lines because each state has their different filing dates and all of that. So if they wait until June or July of 2026, there's a potential that they won't get this done before the 2026 midterms. So there's some people that have been out there saying, well, the Voter Rights Act, this is going to change things. Republicans are going to be able to gain 20 seats and all this. Some of these states might not be able to get things done before the 2026 midterm. Now, sure, the 2028 election, that's a different story. But for 2026, you might have some states that aren't going to be able to draw these new lines. Now, what I would expect is that you have these states right now that want to draw new lines already. They already have their plan there. So as soon as the Supreme Court rules, if they rule in their favor, and I'm saying mostly the Republican states, then these Republican states already have the new lines drawn, and they're just going to try to rush it through as fast as they possibly can. So that we could anticipate seeing that. However, I just wanted to make that clear. Supreme Court will probably rule on this June or July of 2026. And if that's the case, we're going to have some states that are not going to be able to get this out before the 2026 midterms. And so back to Louisiana. Louisiana probability 50-50, and it would be +1 for the Republicans, and then that would be the calculation there. Okay, Utah. Utah has to draw new lines, and this is going to favor Democrats. 70% chance. I would think this would be even higher because the court has already ordered this. However, 70%, we'll just put that because that's what AI says. We have -1 for Republicans, and then this is -0.7. That's the calculation. Okay, so now I want to show you some of the states that are talking about redrawing lines. So in North Carolina, it says new GOP map pass. So they're already moving forward. You see there, probability 60%. This would gain Republicans 1 seat, and there's the calculation there. And then you have Ohio. Now, Ohio has to draw new lines, and I think they just voted on drawing the new lines. Right now, it's 100%. Okay, this is a court order, so they have to do it. The last I heard that Ohio had legislation where they were going to draw the new lines, and they even presented the new map, and that new map would favor Republicans +1, okay? And so Republicans will gain a seat there if it comes out this way. All right, now moving forward, Georgia, Voter Rights Act case ongoing, similar situation there. This is 35% chance of happening, +1 for the Republicans, and that's +0.35 as the calculation. And then you have Indiana. They're talking about redrawing lines, 45% chance of this happening, +1 for Republicans. And then you have +0.45. And then you have Florida, map upheld, and we have 20%. And then we have +1 for Republicans, and that calculation is +0.20. And then we go down to Alabama. Now in Alabama, court keeps map, and it favors Democrats. And so this is 0.05. You have -1 for Republicans, so this would favor Democrats. And then there's the calculation there. And then you have New York, and it just says minor tweaks for possible gains of seats for Democrat, or at least 1 seat. And so we have 0.15, so 15%. That's -1 for the Republicans. And then there's the calculation there. Now looking at Pennsylvania, it's added Pennsylvania twice in the model that I've put out here, but it says that no redraw expected, and it just gives us zeros here. Okay, so 10% and then just zeros. I don't know why it adds that, but we'll just keep it on this list because AI put it on there. South Carolina, so court remap, case pending. This is a 40% chance of passing. This would actually favor Democrats. It would be -1 for Republicans, and there's the calculation there. And then Wisconsin, and we have SCOTUS reviewing maps. This is 30% chance of passing. This would favor Republicans, so it's Republican +1. There's the calculation there. And then New Mexico, court reconsidering map. We have a 25% chance of this happening. -1 for Republicans, so that would favor Democrats, and there's the calculation there. Now, we've gone over all of this, and the reason that we went over all this is what AI has done is they put this all together. They've given us the percentage. They've given us how many seats that they think will each party would be able to win, and then they give us this calculation here. Okay, so first one up here, these are the states that they've already moved forward. They're already enacting something. These states is showing right now 2.6 for Republicans. Okay, so Republicans would gain 2.6 seats. So the states that are talking about it, but they haven't really passed anything, we're looking at plus 1.95 for the Republicans. Okay, so right here, this is week 2. So when you add this up, you get plus 4.55 for the Republicans. So Republicans would gain, you just round that up, Republicans would gain 5 seats. Now let's compare that to last week. So last week, we saw a difference with the enactment. So plus 2.7 for Republicans, it's plus 2.6 for Republicans in week 2. The potential here, potential or future, it was plus 2.3 for Republicans, and now it's plus 1.95 for Republicans. And so that gives you the change there. So last week it was 5. Now it's 4.55. But when you're looking at it, if you do average it up, then you're going to be looking at 5 for both. But when you look at the change, there is a slight change in favor of Democrats. So we're going to have to keep our eye on it from here. But we'll do this every week. So we'll come back. We'll take a look at the numbers. But right now, it's really hard to predict redistricting because there's so many different states that can jump in or jump out. So we just don't know. But all we can do is take the information that we have today. And if the election was today, this is what we would probably see as a result of redistricting. Now, the important thing to note, looking at our map, as I stated, Republicans at 220 and Democrats at 215. And so Democrats would need to net 3 seats. Now, if they're already behind 3 seats and then the redistrict, as a result of redistricting, they're behind another 5 seats, now they have to win 8 seats. But the good news is when I did the AI model, and I just did that a few days ago, I'll post a link at the end of this video so you can check that video out. I did one for the House. What it was showing us in the House, the prediction is showing us that Democrats will gain 20 seats. And so if Democrats gain 20 seats, then they're still going to have the majority, even with this redistricting in place. Even with this prediction that we have for redistricting, they'll be able to win and have an extra, 10, 12 seats. And so that's good news for those of you who are looking at this redistricting. Let's say you're a Democrat and you're saying, wow, this is unfair and all this. Republicans are going to be able to gain these seats just by drawing new lines. And by them drawing these new lines, you have the politicians actually picking the voters instead of the voters picking the politicians, which is really sad, but that's what's going on. Another thing, when it comes to Prop 50, when Prop 50 goes through, if it does pass, now we're looking at that percentage that I showed you on the map when it comes to California, that will increase, and that's going to change the numbers as well. So right now we're looking at 5, but if Prop 50 passes, that percentage goes up from 50% up to maybe 70% or 80%. And that will change those numbers. And so it might not be 5 anymore. It might only be 3 seats that Republicans have an advantage on. So I just wanted to mention that. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.